Looking for royalty-free music? Discover Epidemic Sound. Get the safest music subscription.
Thank you. We want to get started now. If we can settle down, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our parent evening, Meet the Teacher, as well as the launching of our new communication system. Thank you for your attendance this evening. We do appreciate it. We know that lots of you have got other commitments, but we are thankful for your presence here this evening. We're going to call upon Mr. Philip Robinson. He is in charge of ICT at the school, and he's going to be taking you through the new communication system that we're going to be using. So over to Mr. Robinson. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just off the bat, I just want to apologize if the screen goes off. It's worked all the other nights perfectly fine, but obviously the night that we have the most people, it's going to give us trouble. So we're going to try and teeth our way through that, if that's okay. So just to tell you a little bit about Mzali, it's a communication system that is supported by the Department of Education, but it is privately subsidized. It's a one-way communication system. So the school is able to communicate with you, but you are not able to communicate back with the school via the app. If you want to communicate with the school about anything, you still need to use the normal channels of email or telephone into the school. The app is 0 rated for MTN and Telkom users. So what that means is if you have a cell phone contract with MTN or Telkom, then the app does not use any of your data. It won't take any data off you while you are using the app, which is a wonderful thing. They are still negotiating with Vodacom and Cell C, but unfortunately that is entirely in their hands, and so we leave it to them and see what they can do for us. The app is pretty user-friendly. There's not too much going on, and so it's quite easy to use, easy to navigate through. There aren't too many sections and everything to go through. Previously with apps that we've used, there's been a lot of stuff that you needed to filter through, and it's been quite complicated and difficult for parents to find what they're looking for. So this is also one of the reasons why we're quite pleased with this app. Each child has a separate login. Guys, there's a ring on the mic. Can you turn it down a bit, please? Each child has a separate login, and so the information that you receive on the app is specific to that child. So if you have, we've had this question quite often, if you have two children, you unfortunately have to log out of the app and sign in with the other child's login details. You can't have two users signed in at the same time. The app complies with the POPI Act, so you don't have to worry. The personal information that is on the app, it cannot be seen by anybody else, and the Mzali does not share your information with anyone. They have to comply with the POPI regulations as well. So what benefits does it have for us as a school and you as a parent? For the school, it comes at no cost. Previously, we've had to pay to use various platforms, but this one comes free, which we're quite pleased about. As we've already mentioned, as a parent, if you are on MTN or Telkom, it doesn't cost you anything to use either in terms of data. And also, I think, and most importantly, you have immediate access to your child's information. You all received a form when you came in, and we ask you to please sign and return that form probably by Tuesday next week, if you can return it then. So we are aware that there's an issue with the app for most people, because I think most of you are running Android devices and you've downloaded the app from the Play Store. When you open it, it gives you a black or a white screen. We are aware of that, and we do have a solution for that, which we will send out. We will send out a link tomorrow, and you can then download an installation file, which you probably haven't done on your phones before, but you just open the link, and then you can Open that file, and it will install Mzali, and you will then be able to sign in. You must remove the app that you've already installed. Please uninstall that before you try and install the file that we're going to send to you. We will be available afterwards for people who need assistance anyway. So the app is supported on Android, Apple, and Huawei. And we are just going to demonstrate using the browser this evening. And you can use the browser as well. So if you want to open Chrome or browser, whatever you have on your phone, you can go to mzali.co.za, and you will get to the same page I am if you wish to follow. So on the top right, you just sign in. It gives us this page. And the first thing we need to do is we need to search for the school. So we click there and we type Westering High School. Westering High School pops up as an option, then redirects us to this login page. We type in the username that you've all been provided, which is just the ID number really. And then the password, which is unique to that account. It's not a kind of global password, so you don't have to worry about that. Each one has their own unique password. And then we are signed into the app. On the top left, or by your child's name, if you click on that, it'll give you some of your personal information. I'm not going to click on this because it is one of our children and we respect their privacy. And then we have the news tab. If you look on the app, the news tab is right on top. And as you can see, there's a little red circle which indicates how many news events have been uploaded that you haven't read. So at the moment it's saying 0 because we've done this a couple of times. And there we go. There's the news that has been uploaded already. The news that's on the app is relevant. And the great thing is that the latest news is at the top. So you can be sure that the most updated news will be at the top, and you don't have to scroll through just finding anything that you're looking for. This, just to tell you that we're using one of the kids at the school, and we've just added random kind of stuff to their profile. So the information you see here is not really a reflection of the child. We really have just done random things just to demonstrate this for you. When you're in the app, you will click on subjects, and the list of subjects will appear. Then you can select a specific subject, whichever one you choose to, and you can then see the results that your learner achieved in that subject. You'll be able to see the tasks they've done and what they achieved for each of those tasks. Unfortunately, Mzali is not linked to the school system, so we have to send this information to them from time to time. So it's not hot and live, so to speak. The information only gets uploaded once we've sent our data to them, but we will do that as frequently as we possibly can when it's necessary. If we go to textbooks, we don't have to worry about textbooks because we don't use them. We use ebooks, so this just monitors the condition of the books. Then the next one is attendance. The attendance tab obviously shows you when your child is at school, but also it shows us, or it shows you when they've arrived at school late, when they have left early, or a combination of both, when they have left late or arrived late and left early. So any red blocks means that they were absent, they weren't at school for the entire day. The yellow blocks mean they were late for school. Blue blocks mean they have left early, and purple indicates that they arrived to school late and then left early as well. You can use these two arrows at the top to scroll between the months. So if we go back to the month of March, here you can see the color coordination, which really helps to just identify things nice and easily. So you can see on Wednesday the 2nd, the child was late. On the 10th and the 18th, they were absent. On the 16th, they left early. And on the 22nd, they arrived late and left early. So it's a nice kind of thing so that you can see immediately how your child's school attendance has been. And then the last one that the schoolwork. The schoolwork tab we're going to be using mostly to communicate with you, just to keep you updated or inform you about your child's work, whether it be work not done or work well done. We will post that, or those comments or information over here. This is just an example of how it'll look. It'll just give you the subject, what it's about, and then just a little brief description. So you can check that, and we will hopefully be posting things on how your child is doing at school, whether it's homework not done or things well done, as I said. And then lastly, then the last one is EduLink, which is just a link to various educational platforms. Obviously, they sponsor the app, so their links appear there, so you can click on them and it'll redirect you to their pages, and you can see what resources they have available and if any of them appeal to you. And if what I've said makes absolutely no sense to you this evening, then you can go to mzali.co.za, and at the top of the page it does say watch video tutorial. You can just click on that and it'll take you. You can watch a tutorial on Mzali for Android or a tutorial for Mzali on iOS. So thank you very much and have a lovely evening further.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. So parents, are there any questions at this stage? Can I just see by a show of hands who of you have managed to download the app or have managed to get onto the browser? Just by a show of hands. Okay, those who are battling, Mr. Robinson and Mr. Nalmapius will be available after the session outside where you signed in this evening to help you load the app. If there are any questions at this stage, we've had this now for 5 nights and we've picked up parents have different types of questions. The first question is, how many persons can log on? How many can you load this onto? You can load it onto as many people as you wish. So if you've got a parent, both parents can log on and the learner can log on. Okay? You will all get exactly the same information. You will only get information about your child. You will not get information about any other child. If you have 2 children at the school, each of them will have their own logins. Okay? So you can keep tabs. We will post, for example, absenteeism daily. That is posted daily, so you can immediately see whether your child has been at school, what time he's arrived here. And we pick up that lots of learners are dropped off quite early in the morning, but they get to class late. So you can monitor what they're doing in between as well. So if you know they dropped off at 7 o'clock, you expect them not to be late. Okay? So it's a good monitoring system for you at this time. Also, the app is like WhatsApp. We've asked them for a pop-up notification whenever there's new information. At this stage, they're still busy doing some maintenance on it, but if you go into the app, there will be a red icon that indicates that there's a message for you. Okay? So we trust that this is going to assist you, keep you up to date with what's happening, especially with homework and with attendance. As Mr. Robinson said, we are just at this stage wanting to upload our Term 1 results so that you can see what's happening with the marks. You've all seen the report at this stage. So it will just be a copy of what was in the report, but we'll try to upload information there. We don't have access to that. It comes from our SASAM's database, which, as he said, needs to be first posted to them, and then they can upload the information. Okay, are there any other questions at this stage? No one with any questions? All right. Then, as I said, for those, we'd like to get the forms back, the reply slip. Excuse me. That is an indication that you have uploaded the app and that you are now using the app. The reply slip tells us you've uploaded the app and you are using the app so that we can communicate with you via the app. As he said, it's a one-way communication. That means you can't reach us. If you want to speak to us about any information, you will have to then email or phone the school. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to ask Mrs. Paul to come up now. Well, I find my voice. Sorry about that.
Good evening, parents, learners, and my colleagues. I am Mrs. Paul, and I'm the school counselor, a social worker by profession, and I'm very familiar with the grade 8s by now. I've had some mini wellness sessions with them. So I'm here to address you on concessions. So a concession is basically a support tool, or also known as a support tool to assist the learner during the exams, and it is authorized and approved by or allowed by the Department of Education under the branch of support services. With the application process, because I'm responsible for conducting that, I usually compile it and submit it within the first term of the year. That's usually the cut-off date, and then after that they would send it off to provincial level, and then they give us the feedback if it's allowed or not. With a concession, to be a candidate, a learner should present with a condition. So they should be diagnosed either with a psychological condition or a chronic or medical condition that would ultimately trigger a learning barrier, and a learning barrier is anything that would hamper the learner to reach their full potential and to learn effectively. So some of the type of learning barriers that you will encounter are, so if you're looking at chronic conditions, you're looking at hemophilia, which is bleeding of the muscles, so a learner like that would not be able to write for long periods of time because it would be strenuous on their hands. Diabetes and scoliosis, which is, would put pressure on the spine during exams. So for a learner like that, they would be able to apply for additional time and a rest break. Then I think one of the most common ones are dyslexia, where learners have trouble with reading and comprehension. Dysgraphia, where learners have difficulty writing down thoughts and trouble with grammar. Dyscalculia, problems with numbers and mathematical skills. Dyspraxia, challenges with motor task or hand-eye coordination. Then you also have some learners who have auditory processing disorders where they have difficulty, okay, I'll just wait for them to pass. We have learners have difficulty with translating sounds into coherent thoughts. Then you also have learners who have visual processing disorder. This is where they have challenges with translating images into meaningful information. And then also learners who have visual impairments or are hard of hearing. I also want to encourage learners who do have a visual impairment that if they have glasses that they should wear it and not be ashamed of that during class. Okay, so this doesn't necessarily mean that the learner has a learning disability. Those are just possible signs, type of learning barriers. So some of the signs that educators would pick up, and even yourselves as parents, would be that learners have extreme difficulty or dislike or delay in writing or reading. Some of them have a hard time comprehending and organizing information. They have sloppy, disorganized schoolwork, and they're disorganized in general. Some of them have problems with mathematical skills. Some of them have issues with remembering and memory, and then also retaining information. And then this one would relate to ADD and ADHD, where they have trouble paying attention to tasks at hand and following instructions also consistently. Then there are those who are unable to express themselves easily. So again, some of them who have these symptoms doesn't necessarily mean they have a learning barrier, but those are some of the signs. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so with early intervention, when it's important, I think when parents report this to us, we actually take it into consideration and make work of it. So we rely on you to report if you pick up any challenges or if there's any history of a learner presenting with a learning barrier. And then the educator or Gr8 would detect this, and we ask you also to respectfully not deny that. I think most parents would do that only due to the stigma attached to a learning barrier. but I think it should be seen as an opportunity for growth instead. So there should also be a consistent pattern of this, in other words, a history. So with the intervention, the steps to take then if you do, or if we identify a learning barrier, is to discuss it with the Gr8 or myself, and also please involve the child in that. Approach a clinical psychologist if you don't have a report or if the child has not yet undergone an assessment like that, and the report should not be older than 2 years. To have that child assessed, and then subsequent to the assessment, a report will be given to us, and then we use that report to accompany the application of the concession process. Okay, so one of the types of concessions that could be applied for most commonly are additional time, which means a learner can have 15 minutes per hour of an exam, or a 10-minute rest break. And then some for learners who have visual impairments would be in large papers with a larger font, and others are different types, but some of it are also on the onus of the parent. And then lastly, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so I've included this quote just for parents to know. It's from a popular psychoanalyst or late psychoanalyst, Erik Erikson, who studied the life stages or development of children. So this says that children love and want to be loved, and they very much prefer the joy of accomplishment to the triumph of hateful failure. Do not mistake a child for his symptom. Okay, thank you.
Thank you to Mrs. Paul for that. Now, the reason why we share this with you at this stage is that once a child applies for a concession in grade 8, the concession is granted once and it carries all the way through to grade 12. It has to start early. Now, I know some of you might have had a big shock when you got your child's term 1 report, never expecting your child to fail, okay? There are, as Mrs. Paul shared, various learning barriers. If a child is not able to manage his time, or if a child needs a script that needs to be enlarged to be able to see properly. When it gets to the grade 12 exam, if you have not applied for that concession, we cannot give your child extra time. We're not allowed to take a question paper out of this venue. It comes into this venue sealed, we open it up here, and we dispatch it from this venue. We're not allowed to take it out to go and make an enlarged copy. So don't disadvantage your learner at this, or your child at this stage. If you understand and you know your children from primary school already, some of them were slow, some of them can't see properly, some of them can't hear properly, get the necessary reports from professionals so that we can apply. And as I said, if the application is approved, once it's approved, it will carry him throughout his high school career. So we do urge parents to do that, okay? At this stage also, you would have received communication from us indicating that we have intervention. The Department of Education requires of us that if a child is not performing, that we step in and we do what we can to assist the learner. You would have received, as I said, a timetable telling you when, which subjects are being presented to those learners. Please take note, parents. The staff are overloaded with work that they need to do. In one subject, for the grade 8s, about 99 of them failed the subject. For us to follow up becomes an enormous job, and this is after hours. So what we're going to do for the first intervention session, if your child does not attend, we will send you an SMS. After that, it's up to you to see to that your child attends. We will keep the records, but we won't keep sending you because it's not compulsory. It is our effort to assist your child. So if your child doesn't pitch up the first time, we will send an SMS. Then we will just keep the records. If you need, you can contact me at the school and I will supply the records. But you need to play your part and the learner needs to play his part as well. The staff we're making lots of concessions. There's sport that needs to play. Staff are overloaded with work. So please work with us. You do your part. I already picked up with intervention that started this week, where they started off with 30 learners in the class. In the next session, there's only 12 left. So we're saying that we can't do everything. You have also got to do your part. Okay? Then, this evening we have got a number of you that we sent invitations in your reports for you to attend this meeting this evening. At this stage, we are going to break with the meeting and allow those parents who just came for the Mzali, who did not receive an invitation in your report. We thank you for your attendance this evening. But we also want to say to you, the staff are here this evening to talk to you. So those parents who did not receive an invitation, you can move. The doors are open here to the back. We've got the Laura Becker Theatre. The staff are there. I'm going to ask the staff to lead you to the theatre. Some of them are sitting at the back there. You can go and interact with a particular teacher concerning a particular subject. There is someone there that would be able to speak to you about your learners' progress. If you are still wanting to download the app, those people who did not receive invitations to the meeting, there will be a person at the back of the hall in the entrance foyer there that will assist you with downloading the app. And so we thank you for your attendance. The rest of the audience, if you've received an invitation to be at this meeting this evening in the report, we ask you to remain seated so we can continue from this point. Thank you. All right, we'd like to get started. We don't want to keep you long, so we ask those people that are moving out if you can do that speedily, so we can get on with the process that we are here for this evening. Okay, now I've asked various subject heads to address you this evening, and the reason for that, many parent evenings we find that learners have the same problems in the same subjects. So I've got a number, the teachers on the stage are all experts in their field. So what they're going to do, they're going to give you some tactics, some skills, some way that you can help your learner to be successful at the end of the year. Okay? The first person I'm going to call up is Mrs. Anderson. She is the head of English. And we know that if you fail an English exam, if you fail English, you will fail the year. So Mrs. Anderson is going to share a bit of information with us. Thank you, ma'am.
Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and grade 8 learners. Tonight, I'm going to, as Mrs. Smith has said, just give you some idea of the challenges that we found this year particularly, and then just a little bit of guidance as to the way forward so that we can rectify some of the problems that we are having in our English classes. All right, so as you know, English is a 50% pass. Your child needs to get that 50% in order to progress to grade 9. Now, it is extremely important because English is a subject. It is our home language here at Westring. And not only is it the home language, but it is the language of teaching and instruction. And so we need to make sure that our learners are equipped and adequate in the language itself so that they can do better and perform in the other subjects. So grade 8, you need to think of it this way. If you are getting 35% for English, not only is that not good enough to pass our subject, but you are only retaining or understanding 35% of your history lessons, of your geography lessons, of your maths lessons, and so on. And so it is important that you work extremely hard at English. English needs to be something that you are working on daily. Even if you don't get homework, you need to be doing something with English. It could be something as simple as taking out your novel and reading a few pages of your novel. You are engaging with the English language. Or you could take, on our tablet, we have our classwork that has been added, and then we have extra revision exercises There's nothing stopping you from going onto your tablet and for half an hour doing those extra revision exercises. No teacher is going to be cross with you if you are doing extra work. And so every day you need to be engaging with English to work towards passing with the 50%, but even more importantly, I would say, to improve your competency in English so that you can improve in your other subjects as well. All right, now as far as the English as a subject goes, we work with 4 components. It is no different to primary school. Since your child arrived in grade 4, the structure of the English as a subject was set, and it remains the same right up until the end of grade 12. We have an oral component, a writing component, a literature component, and a language component. Now in grade 8, we do deal with all 4 components every single term, and at the end of the year, all 4 components, there will be a mark attached, and that marks get added, and that then makes up your child's English mark. But in grade 8, the focus is really on oral and language. We do a little bit of literature, and there is a tiny mark attached, and we do writing, and there is a mark attached, but the bulk of your child's English mark in grade 8 will come from their oral component and their language component. So when it comes to the orals, we do 1 a term, which is 4 in the year. There is no reason why any child who is sitting in Westring High School cannot get at least 7 out of 10 for their oral. The rubrics are structured in such a way that it is child and learner friendly. So if you have put the effort in grade 8s, there is no reason why you cannot get a good mark for that oral. Now this is what is good about the oral. If it is out of 10, and this is what the learners will come to class, ma'am, what is it out of? And then we say, well, it's out of 10. Oh, it's only 10 marks. You cannot look at it like that. A 10-mark oral could count 25 marks in the total of the term mark. So it might be one small task out of 10, but it carries a huge weighting. And so therefore, if you do well in your oral, it does improve or push your mark up. And the other good thing about the oral component in grade 8 is that it counts twice for you. It counts once as your SBA mark, and it counts again for you as part of your exam mark. So if you put the effort in grade 8, and when I say effort, you follow the instructions, you do what the teacher has told you to do, you plan and prepare at home, and you practice in front of your mirror, you talk to your cat, you do it the night before for your parents, so that by the time you get to class to say the oral, you know it so well that it is near perfect. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that the children see the oral tasks as not important. They walk into class and we hear them, oh, I'm just going to wing it. Oh, no, I didn't. Is it an oral today? Oh, I'm just going to think of something to say. And then they stand in front of the class and they lose their nerve, or they've forgotten what the structure was, and then they do badly. And what they're really doing is doing very badly in a task that in grade 8 counts a lot. The other problem is that for grade 8s, a lot of them are scared to say orals. They are nervous. They are scared to make a mistake. They're scared that the class is going to laugh at them. And so a lot of them don't want to say orals. They refuse to say orals. Grade 8s, you cannot actually in high school refuse to do anything. If there is a 0 next to your name for any task, you will not pass at the end of the year. So you have to do the oral task. But I would like to urge the grade 8s to please communicate with us and the parents if there are such anxieties, so that your English teacher can come up with a plan that is going to make your child more comfortable. We understand that you are new to our school and the process is new, and so we are willing to go that extra mile and just assist you when it comes to saying your orals. If you are nervous, come and speak to us so that we can come up with a plan to help and assist you. And then the other large portion of your child's mark for grade 8 is the language component. We spend probably 70% of our time in the English classroom teaching language. By the time your child gets to the end of grade 9, we basically have taught the entire syllabus up to the end of grade 12. It really is not difficult for you to grasp the fact that a noun in grade 8 is a noun in grade 12. It does not change. Concord and the concept of concord in grade 8 is the same in grade 12. So grade 8, what we teach you now is actually grade 12 work. The only difference is the level of difficulty will increase, obviously, as you move up in your grades. But if you can grasp that concept now, you never have to learn it again. It's about practice. Daily practice. Doing your homework by yourself. Making sure that you've tried the work at least, so when you come to class, you can see where you made that error. And a lot of the times, the learners just push English aside as a second-rate subject, but really it is the thread of our school. All right, and then in term 1, we did a language test, and we were horrified at the marks, and that is one of our biggest challenges that we have this year, is that we are sitting with children who weren't in the classroom for a full year for 2 years. And it has shown in our results. And so instead of sitting with children where we quickly just have to revise a month into our year, we now have children where we have to actually fill in the gaps. And that is where our intervention program is going to help us. We have intervention for English every Tuesday, for children who got level 1, 2, or 3 in English. The classes are small, and what we are doing in those classes, we are going through the structure of the language paper that they will write in June. Every lesson we are taking one question, and we are working through that question and explaining to our learners what is expected of them, how they can approach the comprehension, what they need to do with the summary, how they can look and understand the cartoon, etc. It is imperative that your child attends those sessions, because by the time we get to the end of term 2, we would have managed to go through that entire paper, and they're going to walk into their June exam better equipped to pass that language paper. And so this is where we are asking you to please help us to help you help your child. We are here at school. We are teaching your child. Your child needs to step up and play their part. They play their part by listening, by doing their homework, and by learning, and by attending the intervention. And where the parent can play a role, take your child's book, look in the child's book. If you see that they are struggling, contact the teacher and say, I saw my child is struggling with this, how can I help? Make sure your child comes to the intervention classes, and when we give them work, sit with them, assist them. That extra support from home is very, very important. And as Mrs. Smith said, please help us to get your child into that intervention class. It really is not a punishment. It is just a way for us to help your child fill in the gaps where somewhere along the line they missed out on something, so that they are better prepared for next year. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. I want parents to take note of the following. If a learner fails English, fails the exam. Fails English in grade 8, fails the exam. If you don't get 50% in grade 8, you fail. If you don't get 50% in grade 9, you fail. If you don't get 40% in grade 10 in English, you fail. Grade 11, 40%, you fail. And grade 12. It is the most important subject for you. And so we really are asking parents to really put some effort, and the learners to put some effort into this. It's so discouraging when a child fails a matric exam because he gets 39% in English. So it's not something that's going to go away. You cannot choose another subject. You are going to be with English for the rest of your schooling career. So you have to put in that effort. And as ma'am says, if you learn things now, it's going to be good for you all the way through to grade 12. The other subject that gives us lots of problems is mathematics. And so I'm going to ask the planner and the subject lead for mathematics, Mrs. Nell, to address you now. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I will be addressing the problems that we saw in Term 1 with maths and our way forward to help your child. If we have a look at the first slide there, we can see how your term mark for Term 1, as well as how the term marks for the rest of the year will be calculated. So if we look at Term 1, your child's had to do an assignment for us, which counted 40% of their term mark. This assignment was sent home, and they were given a week in which to do this. Now, if we look at the marks, they were very disappointing. They had a week to do it. They had all their resources at home. They could have asked teachers for assistance. They could have gone and asked a tutor. They could have gone and sat in PI classes. There was plenty of assistance there, but they do it at the very last minute. They also then had to do a control test, which counted 60% towards their term mark. So again, if they didn't do too well in that assignment, where they should be scoring high marks because they have the ability to use books and to research and those types of things, and it was actually done on work that was already covered at school, so it was all in their notebook, they should have been able to get as close to 40% as possible there. The test, again, we will chat about that in a short bit, what the problem areas are there. If we look at Term 2, they have an investigation component. Now, in the past, investigations, projects, assignments would be allowed to be sent home. However, our subject advisor from the Department of Education has now instructed us that no assessments are allowed to go home anymore. So that means that every single assessment that gets done must be done in class under test conditions. Now, this is a slight disadvantage for your child because they don't have a week in which to do it. They also don't have someone to help them, but they will be allowed their textbooks, they will be allowed their tablets, they will be allowed to use that during the time. We will give them sufficient time to do it. They just will be under a little bit more pressure, but it's time that is manageable to complete the assignment. So a 50 mark is normally 1 hour, so they will have 1 hour to do it in class. So they will have their books, they just won't be able to talk to anyone or anything like that. So we will also be able to tell them, so an investigation is generally they're investigating a topic, so we will give them a little bit of information and then they will slowly go through step by step to try and work out everything. Then we also have the June exam, which counts 60% of their term mark. Please realize now that in high school, June exams count Term 1 and Term 2 work. So it is a large portion of work that they will be required to learn for this exam, so Term 1 and Term 2 work. In Term 3, there is a project, which is 40%, and a control test again of 60%, and then your Term 4, which is actually your year mark, is made up of your CAS or your SBA. So SBA stands for School-Based Assessment, or CAS is Continuous Assessment. That is all of your Term 1, Term 2, Term 3 assessments that get put together out of 80%. So I need to make it clear that this was last year's weighting for the year mark. Due to COVID, they gave it an 80% CAS and a 20% November exam. So that means, parents and children, that your CAS component, your assignments, investigations, all your assessments that are being done throughout the year are so, so important. Because if you were not doing so great and you were failing term by term, your CAS would have been a failure, which meant that your exam, you would have had to basically get 110%, which is impossible, to pass. So that's why we say it is so important that assessments are done properly and we put in the time and effort to do them. Please realize that this might change. We are back to full school program, all schools in South Africa now. So we're back to full timetables, full schools, there's no day on, day off anymore, so this could change. In the past, it has been a 40% CAS and a 60% exam, which means that that end-of-year exam is going to count the majority. So at this stage, we don't know what the weighting will be, so just realize CAS is so important. All these assessments throughout the year are very, very important. If we look at what our problem areas are, what are we as teachers finding the problems are with our maths? The first one is basic understanding, and that comes right from the basics, from when they were a little toddler and you were teaching them how to count in the 1, 2, 3s. When they got to grade 1, they slowly started developing more things. Each year, maths is a building subject. So there could be a gap, and we're finding that there is a gap between their basic concepts that they need to know. Go and get them to do their times tables. Every single day, ask them times tables. That is going to help them in their maths. So we need to try and bridge that gap as much as we can. The second one is not paying attention in class, and I think you're going to hear it from almost every teacher here tonight. It's a big problem. You would be amazed how many of your children sit in class and fall asleep because they are going to bed too late. They are not getting a proper night's sleep. You think little Johnny is sleeping, but he's got his cell phone or she's got her cell phone, and the social media, they are on social media and things. So please monitor cell phone usage as well and take it away at night so that they are sleeping, because they come to class and they literally cannot keep their eyes open. It's also very easy for them to be distracted in class. They need to focus. They need to switch off from everything around them, and they need to focus. Maths, we build every single day on a concept. So if you were sleeping today, tomorrow you're going to be lost, because I build up from that concept every single day. So please, learners, we need to be focused in class. We need to be awake. We need to be enthusiastic too, all right? We always say, I ask, how many of you like maths? And then there'll be some that say, no, they don't. And I say, but why? No, because they don't like working with numbers or whatever the case is. Most of the time that we don't enjoy something is when I don't know what I'm doing. The more I do something, the more confident I'm going to get in that, and the more I'm going to start enjoying that. I too remember when I was in school, I hated an algebra sum because I didn't quite know what I was doing. But as soon as I do practice, I get the hang of it, I start saying, wait, I'm getting these things right, I start enjoying something. So we need to practice every single day. And in red there it says, maths is an everyday subject. It's a practice subject. It's not a learning subject. You need to be practicing some after some, getting that confidence up so that you start enjoying the subject. Next one, lack of preparation for tests and exams. After we get our test results and we see how bad it is, we then say to the kids, how many of you learned for this test? And we get very disappointed when we see how many actually put their hand up and say they learned for it. They think they can wing a test. They can't. They think they can understand it. They can't. You can't just page through your book, children, and think that you know your work. You've got to literally practice. So we'll come to more on that shortly. Their notebooks are not up to date. Please ask your children, let me see your maths book, not just maths, every subject. Let me see your book. Let me see. Encourage it. Turn it into a positive. Let me see what you did today. Teach me what you did today. Show me. You should see a date there so you can see what they did in class that day. They are going to get homework every single day. Please realize that this is a very big jump from primary school. They do. The workload is a lot more from primary school. I don't just give 2 sums to them. They're going to get a lot. All right? So when they tell you they don't have homework, they might be telling you a little bit of a lie. Because I know that as a maths teacher, I give homework every single day, even on the weekend. So please realize that we have to give them homework every single day because we have such a huge curriculum that we have to get through for the year. So if they do tell you they don't have homework, say to them, okay, bring me your book, bring me your tablet, let's look at this exercise over here. I see you didn't do number C from that. Let's try it. Do that one for me. Get them to do extra, just 2 or 3 if they say they don't have maths. Sit with them and watch them and say, okay, show me how you do it. Take part, make it a positive thing by showing interest in them and trying to learn something. We cannot expect you to do their homework or to teach them. That's our job. That's what we do every day. We want to teach them. Some of you might be able to help, and then the rest of you feel so guilty that you can't help them because you did it 10 years ago. It's not your responsibility, parents. Your child is sitting in class, the teacher is teaching that concept. If they don't understand, they should be putting their hand up and saying, ma'am, sir, I don't understand. Can you please go over it again? Many of them aren't confident enough to do that. You then wait until the class leaves and you go and you ask the teacher, can I come to you at break time so I can assist you? There are ways to get there. And sometimes it's just a little concept that we need to just get there and then you're fine. But if you go home and you walk out the class and you don't know what happened in that lesson, then you're up for failure. Homework is not being done correctly or done at all. I think if the register teachers in the morning, they will frantically see children in their class frantically copying down homework because they are coming to school, have not done their homework, so they just ask their buddy next door to them, give me your maths book, give me your EMS book, whatever the case is, and they are copying their work. That is a real test for failure. You are not going to pass maths if you are copying. I at least need you to try. Try it. Because mistakes are proof that you are trying. If you don't try, you're never going to learn from anything. It's easy to say, I don't know, I didn't understand. That's the easy way out. I need you to try and persevere. Go back in your notes, look on your tablet for the examples, and try it. Also, homework is not being marked correctly. So we go through the homework with your children, and they will just put a cross down and not put the correction down. That also is not going to help them. Then we've already spoken about that. Assessments are being rushed and done at the last minute. Obviously, that's now not going to really apply because everything's going to be done in class, but make sure they're prepared for it so that we know you're going to be doing a test on or an assignment on algebra. Make sure you understand your algebra before you go in to do that investigation the next day. How can you help as parents? I've already basically spoken about this, but check their maths books. If you can't do it daily, do it on a weekend. Put some time aside and check those books. Ask them, why is this note incomplete? Why is this not marked? Question them. And if you think maybe there's something wrong, send the teacher an email as well. You have every right to send the teacher an email and say, can you just assist me? I just want to know X, Y, and Z, whatever the case is. But take part in their homework. Also ensure that they are attending the intervention classes on a Monday afternoon. We will touch on that briefly in a short while. Make sure that they have a designated proper place for doing homework. Please, parents, they cannot be sitting on their bed doing their homework. They cannot be sitting watching their favorite TV program and doing their maths homework either. They need to be at a desk where you can also keep an eye on them because we know they have devices and sometimes they quickly go off the textbook and they're looking at something else. So just keep a little eye on them every now and then. Check up on them. Are you doing okay? Whatever the case is. But please, they must be sitting in a designated spot and working well on their homework, not just maths. We've spoken, encourage them to ask their teachers, use resources that have been uploaded onto tablets. So on their tablets, we will always push revision for them. So they will have past papers there with memos. Every assessment that they do, that gets pushed with memos as well. So there are plenty of resources there for them to use. You then can also, if they have a maths test, you can say, right, let's look at last year's maths test. do question number 1 for me. You've got the memo. Then you can also go and have a look at it. All right? So we need your part in this as well. Study guides. You can purchase some study guides. Pickwick Books, which is in Walmart. You can get study guides there, but an easy one is P&A in Bay West. They also sell various study guides, so you can go and have a look. Answer series is a good one. That's past papers with questions and memos, but there are many different types of study guides that you can also get to help them. Know their assessment dates. So in the next week, you should be getting a term planner like you did in term 1 that shows the assessments for every subject. I suggest that you paste that or put it onto your fridge so that you can see every day, and you can say, you have a maths test tomorrow. Have you studied? Bring me a book, let me see. Let's do a question here. You have an English test tomorrow. Whatever the case is, know the assessment dates, hold them accountable. Make sure you are signing the assessments. In term 1, you should have signed a class test, you should have signed the assignment, and you should have signed their control test. These are all sent home for parents to see so that you are also getting feedback. It's very important that you get them. Teachers sometimes send out SMSs to say that assessment was sent home, please sign and return tomorrow. So they are being sent home, so make sure that you are seeing them. Also, make sure your details are correct. SMSs are sent by teachers informing you your child did not complete their maths homework today, your child failed their maths test, whatever the case is. So make sure that your details are correct and that the SMS is not going to their cell phone. Then if we look at the next slide, how are we helping as the maths department? We have intervention classes. So if I can ask the sound crew just to put the other... There you can see, in grade 8, we started on Monday already. What are we doing in these intervention classes? We are going back to term 1 work. So that was where your child did not succeed, some of you sitting here tonight. So we are going back to try and help them to get the basics in those concepts. You'll see we have 2 teachers because we have a huge amount of learners that have unfortunately not made maths. Did not pass it. So we've made the classes manageable for the teacher and for your child. For them to sit in a class of 60 is not beneficial for them. So that is on a Monday. That is every Monday. So hopefully most of you went on Monday. Obviously now this week we've got good Easter Monday, so there won't be, but there is a makeup week where we will have those classes again. So your children just need to pay attention to announcements. We will make those sessions up. Then extra maths classes, we also are offering extra maths classes in addition to intervention classes. So you will see there again that there are 2 teachers offering their afternoon time. What is happening in these classes? We focus on term 2 work. Yeah. So intervention is term 1. Extra maths classes is current work that we are doing. Anyone is allowed to go there. It is free of charge, and we as teachers love to see a class full of children wanting to learn, wanting to do better. But unfortunately, extra maths classes, we sometimes don't even get 5 attending. But if there's a class just before an exam, then suddenly we have, our class is not big enough. It's too late then. It has to be a weekly thing for you to attend. You cannot try and go to one little extra maths class just before a test or an exam. It's too late then. So we have those. They are duplicate sessions, so your child only needs to attend one of those sessions. They will be repeated. So Tuesday's class, they will do the same thing in Wednesday's class. So they just need to attend one of those. Then also, if you just go to the next one, I think we have assessment dates there. There is assessment dates as well. So you can see that next week, Thursday, your grade 8 children are already writing their first class test. Now, a class test falls under informal. So the first thing they want to know, ma'am, does this count for marks? And we say no. So then they think, oh, well, I don't need to learn. That is the wrong attitude to have. You should not be sitting with that attitude. It doesn't count for marks. I don't need to learn. We want you to learn because that is better preparation for your exams, for your control tests, those types of things. So go and practice and learn for them. You'll also see Friday the 13th of May is another class test, and then you've got your formal assessment, which is the investigation. On their tablets, I will also be pushing their daily work planner. So you will see a term planner or a monthly planner for April. You can see literally what they should have covered that day in class. Some teachers might be a day or two behind or ahead, but you can literally pick up there. You should have done functions today, finding the rule. Show me what you did. So you have access to those things as well. Then we obviously as teachers, we want to see your child succeed just as much as you want to see your child succeed. So it is a team effort from all of us. We do our part as teachers, trying to do our very best. We need the child to pull their 100% potential and effort into maths and to get away from that negative attitude and to try and do their very best that they can. It's all an attitude game. If I'm going to have a bad attitude about something, then I'm not going to ultimately do that great in it. But I need to change my attitude. And then you as parents, we please ask you to check up on homework daily. Ask them, check their notebooks, get involved with them. I know that we are all busy, but we need to take time out to help our children do the very best that they can. And then I just have one last little quote there for the learners. It says, study while others are sleeping. Work while others are loafing. Prepare while others are playing. And you will enjoy while others are regretting. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing an improvement in our maths marks for term 2.
Thank you, Mrs. Nell. I'd like parents to take note that we are recording these sessions, so if you want to go back to it, and I'll also send you a document with all the tips that the teachers have given you, the strategies that you can use to get your child to pass. I also want to draw parents' attention to the following fact, that next year in grade 9, these learners do a subject choice. For the following subjects, we look at the maths mark: accounting, IT, and physical sciences. We don't look at anything else but at the maths mark. Okay? So if you are looking at a career with any of those subjects, IT, accounting, or physical sciences, you have to improve the maths mark now already. I'm going to ask Mrs. Barrow to come and share quickly on social sciences. That's also what we find to be a new challenge that is suddenly that we're sitting with. We haven't had this before, so Mrs. Barrow, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, parents and learners. My name is Mrs. Barrow, as Mrs. Smith just said. I am the learning area head for social sciences and for the geography component. So I will be discussing the general social science component and then geography, and Ms. Hoch will speak to you about history in a few minutes. All right, very different from primary school, from most primary schools, is that social sciences in grade 8 and grade 9 consists of 2 separate components. They are taught by separate teachers. The content level and the content load for those 2 separate components is a lot more than it was in primary school. I'm well aware of the curriculum that is covered in grade 7 for social sciences, for history and geography, and the content that we do, it's a lot more. I was at a subject meeting a few weeks ago where our subject advisor wanted to know why is there such a difference with regards to the grade 7 levels that they see and then the grade 8 and 9s. And it's purely because there is so much more that we need to cover and the learners are not used to that. So that is the first biggest challenge that we are facing with the social sciences subject at grade 8 level. The second issue that we have sat with this term is that we have noticed there is a gap in content. Primary school learners were attending schools on alternate days. They were not covering the full curriculum, and we are now seeing the effects of that. And it was proven in the term 1 test that was written at the end of the term, where there was work that was tested that was grade 7 work, and the learners did not know how to answer it. So as a geography side, we have decided to reintroduce grade 7 components that are crucial for grade 8 and grade 9 in terms of building on those components. It's very difficult to understand a new section of work if you didn't understand a previous section because you didn't do it, or you were only taught a small section of it. So that is our plan of action for this term. And the reason for that is because learners will be assessed on term 1 work again in term 2. During the exam in June, you are tested on term 1 and term 2 work. So we can see that there was a clear indication that learners battled with many concepts that were build-ons from grade 7 work, should I say. And we are now going to reintroduce those sections that are important to build on for grade 8 and grade 9. Because the work that was done in term 1 now in grade 8 will be built on in grade 9. So if you weren't understanding something now, it then needs to be nipped in the bud. We need to get down to the bottom of it so that next year, when you do the map work section of geography again, there aren't any issues. We are also part of the intervention system that the school is running. Social sciences will take place on a Thursday afternoon. We have to split between history and geography because there are 2 separate components. So the dates will be communicated by your geography or your history teacher as to what the alternate days are going to be for the geography and for the history components. But the way forward means that learners need to take the time to revise, to do the practice activities that they are given and that are in their textbooks, so that they make sure that they cover everything thoroughly, especially because there were so many learners that it was evident did not understand certain concepts that were grade 7 concepts actually. So that is the way forward for geography. The intervention sessions are going to be communicated, like I said, by your individual geography or history teacher. Within the next week, you will be aware of those dates. And then you just need to please revise as much as possible. Go and look at the what to learn that is pushed onto your tablets so that you cover all the necessary sections that are required. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and learners and my colleagues. My name is Ms. Hoch. I am in charge of grade 8 and grade 9 history for social science. So with term 1, what made up term 1 in terms of assessments is that we did have an informal assessment. This was done within the first couple of weeks of the term to assess where your child is going wrong within the subject. This informal test was then, should your child have failed the informal test, a letter and communication was sent to you that they did fail and that they would have needed to focus better for their March test series. Now, their March test series was the formal SBA. That is what counted towards their report mark. And as Mrs. Barrow has said, it is a 50-50 split with geography and history. So the history side of things counted 50%. One of the areas that we saw when it came to why learners did badly in the term 1 test was that learners are blatantly not studying. It is very clear to us that learners do not open books, they do not actually read through their notes, and this is something that is going to be a problem for them when it comes to their exams and the rest of the year's assessments. Because history is not a difficult subject. You do not need to learn specific formulas. You don't need to know certain rules in order to be applied to history. History is not difficult to understand at all. If your child can tell you the plot to their favorite Netflix series, they should be able to do well in history. Because that is exactly what history is. It is a plot. It is the novel of the world. So it is nothing complicated to it. All that learners need to do is that they need to listen in class. They need to write down the notes in their books, and they need to just go over these notes when they are learning for the test. And then they will do well. Now, these notes that we put up during the term are just PowerPoint presentations where it is a direct summary of the textbook. So learners do not need to actually go home and make their own summaries. We've done the summaries for them. They just need to write it down. So it is very important as well that if they do not finish making the notes in class, they've got the textbook, they should be then at home be completing those notes. And when it comes to studying for your test, you should be reading through those notes. Now in term 1, we had a slideshow presentation of the entire term 1's work pushed to their devices, and that consisted of 40 slides. Now, please, as Mrs. Null has said, it is very important for you as parents to ask your learners for their books. Flick through it. We've done 40 slides worth of work. Your child cannot have 4 pages worth of history notes. So it doesn't have to be every day, but try once a week, have a look, see what they have done in history that week. So it's very important, please parents, we need you to help us with that follow-up and with that checking. One of the other problems that we picked up is that when it comes to history for grade 8 and grade 9, we give you key terms and definitions that you need to know. Now, we don't mark and we don't expect learners to know these key words word for word. Okay, we know that you are not a robot and you cannot store 30 definitions. What we mark is the idea. So have you actually managed to go out and have you managed to grasp the concept of what is going on? Because if you do not understand these key terms and definitions, you're not going to understand the content. So it is very important that they need to learn those definitions, but in a way that they understand it. And if they communicate that effectively in their writing, then they will be awarded the mark for those definitions. Definitions come up every single test. Another thing, as Mrs. Barrow has said, is that there is a big jump from primary school to high school, and we see this especially in history. One thing that primary schools are meant to teach the learners is how to write a history essay. And what we have found is that learners do not know how to write a history essay. So it is expected in history to write a specific type of essay, and for exams, so June and November, that history essay, counts 20 marks out of the whole exam, which is quite a big chunk of the marks. Now, this structure of how to write an essay was done with your learners or with your children about 2 weeks before their test in March, so that they had this structure fresh in their mind, and if they didn't understand the structure, they had time to ask their teachers. This is something that we are going to be addressing in the intervention classes, because it is something that we have found that learners have not been able to grasp properly, so that will be reiterated in the extra intervention classes. Now, for term 2, we only have one assessment. Along with the geography part of it, there is just the history control test that is written in June. And that test is tested on term 1 and term 2's work. So term 1 work is counting 47% of that exam. And term 2's work is going to count 53% of that exam. So just because we've now finished term 1 doesn't mean that term 1 knowledge isn't important. It is. So please, if you have gaps in your book from term 1, learners, you need to go and catch up on those notes. You do need them for the June exam. One other thing, just as parents, in terms of what else you can do to assist, is that if you see that your child is struggling, if you see that their notes are empty, please contact your history teacher. All the information is on our website, and as the teachers have said, that you can contact. So please send that email. And the last thing I just want to reiterate is that it's not difficult. History is not a difficult subject. We should not be failing history. If you're failing history, it means that you are blatantly not listening and not trying. So I hope that we put in a little bit more effort this term and that our history marks will improve.
Thank you, Mrs. Wig. Just finally now, the NS marks were also very, very poor for this last term. And the NS teachers, unfortunately, can't be here this evening, but this is what they're saying. Learners are not paying attention in class. They are playful, especially the boys. And I can see it here this evening, by the number of times they've jumped up to go to the bathroom. The learners are very, very playful. Some of them have not understood what it is to be at high school. The second thing that we're picking up with NS, learners do not memorize things anymore. They think because they have a cell phone, they have access to any information that they need. Unfortunately, that cell phone cannot go into the exam room with you. So you have to learn to memorize. You have to develop a skill for memorization. Parents, we want to thank you for your attendance here this evening. We hope that this would have assisted you. I want to say, although we have about 90 of our grade 8s failing at this stage, about 90 of our grade 9s failing, our grade 10s, we only have 22 failing. Our grade 11s, we have got 7 failing. And our grade 12s at this stage, we've got 4 failing. So I actually want to encourage you and say to you, yes, we do have challenges at the grade 8 and 9 level, but we work very hard to be able to make your child successful when he or she does grade 12. If you cooperate with us, we can turn the situation around for them and make them successful at the end of the day. The subject teachers are available in the hall at the back in the Laura Becker Theatre. We have given you as much information that we can, because else you would have sat in a long line trying to speak to a teacher, and we would have said the same thing to all of you. But if you still feel that you want to speak to a teacher, those teachers are available in the hall at the back of the school hall, the Laura Becker Theatre. Thank you very much for your attendance this evening. We appreciate it. Thank you.